What's up, y'all? And welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today you're probably wondering who gets up on Mother's Day and decides, I'll read Blood on the Tracks. Well, that is me. I am the person who woke up this sunny Mother's Day and kind of just laying around and just thinking like, you know what? Today's the perfect time to finally start Blood on the Tracks. And so here we are. So, Shuzo Oshimi, you got me. You got me. Cause this is one cause I had volume 1 of Blood on the Tracks in my collection since like sometime last year. And then I picked up volume 2 maybe a few months back or whatever, because I was like, you know what? I know eventually I'm going to want to read this. So I'll probably start buying them over time. And so, yeah. So, but before I fully dive in, let me just give a little bit of background. So, Shuzo Oshimi, the author of Blood on the Tracks, he also did a couple of other series that y'all might know, such as The Flowers of Evil, Happiness, Inside Mari, which is the only other one that I've read. I read that like a month or so ago. And he also did a Welcome Back Alice. So this is a psychological thriller series, basically about more or less a super overprotective mother and her son. So yeah. So this is one that I had heard from people over the last year, since I've really been in the manga community, about like, hey, once you start reading, you're gonna get hooked. And the people were not lying, because I blew through these 2 volumes so fast this morning. And I was like, man, I need to get to the store ASAP and buy at least like volume 3 and 4. But my closest bookstore wasn't going to be open for another like 2 hours. And I'm like, I can't just sit here twiddling my thumbs for 2 hours waiting for the store to open. So I ended up getting them digitally. And my plan was to maybe just read a volume, or maybe like a couple of volumes or whatever. But Shuzo Oshimi, every volume just kept on ending at a point where I'm like, well, I got to read the next one. And so I just kept going and going and going. And I have this morning read all of the current English release volumes of 1 through 8. So I am caught up with the physical volume releases. And I It was so freaking good. It was so freaking good. So everything from the art of it to just the mind games that the mother is playing on the son, and everything in between, it has been just a roller coaster of a read for me this morning. And one that I highly recommend to anybody if you are a fan of psychological thriller stuff, then Blood on the Tracks is a super high recommendation. Like, I feel confident enough in saying that you can just straight up, hey, if you have the money to just go ahead and just get all the currently released volumes, because if you are a fan of psychological thrillers, then you're going to want everything that you can get your hands on. Cause like I said, like once I started reading, cause previously when I first got the volume last year or whatever, I had started reading volume 1, and I pretty much got to this infamous double page spread of the mom smiling, which is just a few pages into the volume. And when I saw her face, something told me deep inside, I was like, Robert, you're not ready for this now. And so I put it down And I waited, and I waited, and I waited until we got here on Mother's Day, which is probably the most twisted time to read this, but I read it and I could not be happier that I finally did. And I only wish that I had all of the volumes in my hand right now just to have them on my shelf in my collection, but I will get them eventually. But this was such a freaking fantastic read. But y'all know that I can't just read 8 volumes of this and not give any discussions and stuff. So I'm going to say from here in a minute, I'm going to go into some spoilers of everything up through the end of volume 8. But just know, like I said, super high recommendation if you are a fan of psychological thrillers. Then this is one that you cannot miss. Now, I will have a timestamp right here, but we're about to dive into a little bit of spoilers because, like I said, I need somebody to talk to, and that is going to be y'all today. So, when this thing started, I didn't really know like how, like what direction the psychological thriller stuff was going to go with. All I knew, going in was just like, okay, this is something about a mother and her son. But I didn't. I guess I wasn't like super surprised it happened, but I still was surprised when it happened. When they are on the hiking trip with the whole family, and the one cousin that kept coming over, bugging them all summer. When she pushed him off that cliff, because honestly, I kind of suspected that somebody was going to fall off a cliff, because when he was goofing off at first and he almost pushed the boy off of the cliff the first time, and the mom caught him, and everybody was like, oh my God, you're so overprotective or whatever. It was like, no, this is not going to end well for somebody. And then the 2 boys go off to use the bathroom again by themselves. The main character Sei, and then the cousin Shigeru. And then the cousin's like, hey, come over here. I was like, he's going to try some shenanigans again. And then, of course, the mother, she was there. She's always there. She's always somewhere close by lurking. And the cousin on the cliff, hey, look at me. It's dangerous. And the mom grabs him. I'm like, okay. Then she's like, you know what? You can go. And shoves him off. And thus, the true mind games begin. Because then she starts to play this victim. But it is so wild how throughout all these volumes, it's this back and forth to where she's like, no, I didn't do it. But then secretly she wants to get caught, which at the end of volume 8, she gets caught because, man, that volume. So first of all, he gets shoved off the cliff. He survives, but he's in kind of like a little bit like a coma / vegetative state for I think probably some months. And then, he starts to kind of get a little bit better or whatever, but he doesn't have memory of the mom and the son. And eventually, they come home and stuff. And then the moment when Shigeru, when the mom and the aunt went in the kitchen to go do dinner or whatever, and Sei was in there with Shigeru, and he's like, man, like, what do we talk about? Oh yeah. And then Shigeru just gets up and just starts walking. After, after the aunt was just talking about how he's probably going to be, he's getting a little bit more motion in his left side or whatever, but, he'll probably be able to use his left arm and all this stuff, whatever, in due time. But when he just gets up and just starts walking, it's like, yo, what is up with this? And then Sei catches him when he's about to fall, but then also kind of just like catches him, but then also kind of like shoves him to the ground. And then the aunt kind of confronts him. She's kind of like confronts him, and the mom is kind of like, hey, don't get mad on me asking this, but I just gotta know. Did you shove my son off that cliff? Did you push him off that cliff? And then Say steps in, and the this is where we truly see like the manipulation that his mother's been doing, like really coming out, because he like screams at the aunt like, how dare you accuse my mom of pushing him? She tried to save him, but she can't get there in time, and yada yada yada. And then they end up leaving. But then when the freaking aunt caught him on the way home from school and was like, hey, come on, nephew, I'll give you a ride home. It is freezing cold, baby. You don't need to be outside like this. And gives him a ride home and confronts him in the car about everything. I thought that they were going to crash in the car because they started tussling and stuff while she's driving. And then he just dips out the car and runs home and tells his mom, like, hey, she's on to us. So she says that he woke up or whatever and said that she did it and all this stuff. And then that final volume where they come home and the whole family is there and is like, hey, let's have a talk. And the mom just confesses at the end of volume 8 and is like, yep, I shoved him. Yep, I did it. And so now it's like, man, where is this going to go from here, And backtracking a bit, because in between all that, man, I was so sad to see the roller coaster arc of Sei and Fukishi, his little girlfriend he had, super briefly. But it was like, man, like, just like him having the trauma and not being able to speak for a while, to, lashing out, kicking the desk. But then, like, this girl, she is somebody that's able to, like, kind of like relate and connect with him. And he begins to start to talk and come out of his shell and start to become his own person, be independent. But, man, when they were sneaking off or they were hanging out on a little bench by the river or whatever, and then the mom comes up and is like, hey, what are y'all doing? Come back here. And they run off into the tall grass or whatever and tries to hide before the mom catches them or whatever. And then Sei stepping up to his mom being like, no, you're not going to, to touch her, leave her alone. To him and the girl spending the night together, and Sei having his first puberty experience and stuff. And then the mom coming over to their house, to the girlfriend's house, and then the dad catching them, and then the mom, and then all this stuff where they under the bridge, making out and stuff. And then Sei pushes off of her and runs home. And then the mom confronts him like, hey, what really happened? What did you do? What did you do with that girl? She's showing him the underwear with the stains. Like, hey, what is this? What all did y'all do? Did y'all do it from the front? Did y'all do it from the back? And I was like, whoa, whoa. Like, Mom, I just kissed her. And then stuff happened. And then she tossing him outside, being like, get out of my house. You're filthy. Get out of my house. And just this whole, all these freaking things that just led to the mind games and manipulation to where now she had him. And then he came begging back like, no, Mom, I promise I'll hate everybody just like you want me to. I won't talk to Fukishi no more, and yada yada yada. And then she had him in her clutches now. And so just went back to being Mama's boy. And then like the confrontation he had with the bullies, which they deserved, because they've been picking on him throughout all the series so far. And he finally snapped and beat the crap out of one of them. But yeah, like these 8 volumes were just such a freaking roller coaster, man. And and now I'm on the pain train with the rest of y'all, having to wait for these volumes to come out, because man, I can't even imagine like reading some of these like early volumes when stuff was like really starting to like first kind of pick up or whatever, and having to wait the months between volume releases, man. But I'm now a Blood on the Tracks prophet. I will now be singing the praises of Shuzo Oshimi and the psychological greatness that is Blood on the Tracks. But yeah, y'all. I didn't need to go like step by step with every single thing, but like I just had to just like gush and just shout out into the void all this craziness that has happened, and just knowing that there is so much more to come. Cause now it's like, okay, the mom has fessed up in front of everybody. You know, the aunt, the uncle, the dad, and so now I'm like, okay, because honestly, I was expecting at some point, like, okay, is she gonna end up killing off the husband, killing off the aunt, and who's to say she still might? You know, hey, plenty of opportunities for death to come up. Because who's to say she won't just kill everybody in that room? But I am just very curious, like, okay, how is things gonna go from here? You know, to where is she going to end up going to jail? And then if she does, what is that going to do to Say being left alone with the dad, supposedly? And yeah, but yeah, I am just ready for Volume 9 and everything else beyond to come. Because Volume 8 ended off on Chapter 68. And I think in Japan, with where they are, they're like in like the 120s or so worth of chapters. So they're like twice as far ahead chapter-wise, I think. But anywho, I'm not gonna keep on dragging this out, but just know, and if for some reason you listen to all these spoilers or whatever, you still haven't read it, go and read Blood on the Tracks. That is all I can say for it. But if you liked this video / podcast episode, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of Blood on the Tracks and the series as a whole. Let me know. Just let me know what your theories are, like what you're expecting for the series going forward and all that stuff. And with that, I am done. Y'all be easy. Go read Blood on the Tracks. Let's shout it from the rooftops. But I'm done. Shuzo Oshimi, Psychological Greatness. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.